The Catholic Church is canonizing this 15-year-old as the newest saint. What did this boy, who died just a few months before the first iPhone was announced, do to become a saint? And the answer is not what you think. Carlo was born in 1991 into a wealthy Italian family as an only child. His family had so much wealth that they even had a staff to help take care of Carlo and take care of the house. And that's actually really important. That's going to come up later. Carlo was a classic 90s kid. He was into Pokemon. He gamed on the PlayStation, GameCube, and Xbox. And I mean, look at the Spider-Man costume. This is classic saint behavior. In recounting their memories of Carlo, his friends finally remember playing Halo with him late into the night. And I know that it keeps me up at night wondering if Saint Carlo Acutis ever took me down in Halo growing up. When it came to school, Carlo was not the best student in the world, and sometimes he would get in trouble for being a bit of a class clown, but this kid loved to teach himself things. He taught himself the saxophone, and when he got his computer, his beloved computer, he even taught himself how to code. So overall, Carlo seems like just a pretty normal kid. Nothing too unusual going on here, just a normal millennial. But the truth really starts to reveal itself once you start looking at his death. So in October 2006, Carlo started to begin feeling kind of like he had the flu. That's what he thought it was, but then it quickly worsened. This is what his mother, Antonia, had to say.
Carlo had a sore throat, but behind this sore throat, there was a leukemia. And Carlo said, I offer my sufferance for the church, for the Pope, not to go to purgatory and to go directly to heaven. We were driving to the hospital. He told us, I won't come out alive from this hospital. I will give you many signs. Always with a smile, never complaining, say, when the doctor were asking him, are you suffering? He used to say, there are people that are suffering much more than I, always with a smile. And really, he died as a saint. And the doctor were all astonished, although the nurses, because normally with this illness, and it was really incredible. And for Carlo, his love was Jesus. So when you die, you meet Jesus. The only thing he used to say that we have to live like if each day of our life is the last day of our life. And he said that the only things we have to be scared is sin, because this can take us away from the eternity, from Jesus. And really, Carlo was not scared at all, and because he had the faith. And Carlo used to say that people who are scared about death, it means they don't have faith in God. They don't trust God.
Man, what a lot of grace that kid had.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Yes, no, but surely we have to see the death like really the start of the fantastic life we have. The only thing we have to be scared is the sin. This is the problem.
So how was Carlo able to die in such a way that was so peaceful and serene and even just heroic? You might be wondering, was it because his parents, did they drag him to Mass every day? Did they force him to pray the rosary and do all those things? Well, the answer might shock you. His parents actually had no faith. And it was actually Carlo at a very young age that helped bring his parents back to the faith. His mother, Antonia, refers to Carlo as her little savior. When Carlo was 3, they hired a Polish nanny named Beata. Now, if you know anything about the Poles, they love their Catholicism. If you know, you know. And so when Beata walked in the door, she just had a bag full of holy cards and just showed them all to Carlo. She ended up teaching him how to say hi to Jesus whenever they would walk in a church. When Carlo was 4, she taught him how to pray the rosary, and he soon decided to just pray it every day. 4-year-old Carlo began asking his parents to pray with them and kept bombarding them with all these questions about the faith and what was true, and asking questions about the Bible and theology and things. And so as a result, his mother knew that she had to learn more, and that led to her own conversion. The Acutis family hired a man named Rajesh Mohur, a Hindu man from across the globe, to help take care of Carlo. So when Carlo was 7, Rajesh would observe him just going into the church and just being amazed at how focused he was on Jesus when he was in there. Carlo, of course, just wanted to tell Rajesh all that he could. But Rajesh would also just see Carlo putting his faith into action. He would sell his toys to get money to give to the poor. And he would do all these things for other people at such a young age. And Rajesh was just shocked. Rajesh said, when I saw Carlo's acts, of such a small child, then I got converted. And so finally, after all of this, Rajesh finally decided to get baptized, and then they could go to Mass together and receive communion together every single day. When Rajesh's mother came and visited from across the globe, she began talking to Carlo, and then she decided to get baptized. Carlo even helped lead his own grandmother back to the faith. This is what she said: "Neither I nor his parents were practicing before Carlo led us to the faith. He was the one who led us to God, to faith. I must admit that for most of my life, I was not a good Catholic. And thanks to Carlo, who from a young age asked me to go to Mass with him and his mother, I rediscovered the faith that had been lost in me. This little boy just keeps leading people to Christ, and maybe you're next. When it came to school, his teachers and his classmates, they recall just how he always stuck up for those that were getting bullied. He was there for the lonely and the outcasts. He would always seek them out. And he would stand up for things like purity and for the faith with his classmates, even though it just wasn't popular at all. And even if they didn't care, he knew that he had to stand strong and he wasn't going to be swayed by what the other classmates thought. And so, of course, Carlo loved to code, but he would use those things to help boost the faith. He helped build his own parish's website, and believe it or not, he actually helped contribute to the Vatican's website. All of these things were just not easy to do in the early 2000s before you had things like Squarespace. And by the way, Squarespace is not the sponsor of today's video because the sponsor is actually We Teach Think. Abortion is a heated topic in today's political climate, and We Teach Think is trying to offer new and alternative ways to look at the topic than the usual talking points you see. So what I love about the We Teach Think app is you see a lot of things, for example, about the development of the fetus and all the different scientific facts. And it also offers easy access to some well-made videos that help look at the topic in a different way, just kind of like this one.
Could we agree that if a human egg and a human sperm were joined together that it would begin growing? And if something is growing, could we also agree that it must be taking in some kind of nutrition? And if something is taking in nutrition and growing, it must be alive. So, if that something happens to be a human egg and a human sperm that were joined together, is taking in nutrition, and is growing, the only thing it could be is a human person that is alive.
So thank you to We Teach Think for sponsoring today's video and for your project Human from Day One. It's super inspiring. I encourage you all to download the We Teach Think app for free right now, and you can find the link in the description below. So back to Carlo. If you really want to understand his spirituality, you have to know that he was completely obsessed with the Eucharist, even calling it his highway to heaven. In 2002, he saw this exhibition on beauty by this organization called Communion and Liberation, and he was just blown away at how all of the research and the presentation inspired him to beauty. And then he wanted to combine that with his own love for the Eucharist. And so he spent the next 3 years developing his own exhibition on something called Eucharistic miracles. So a Eucharistic miracle is this miraculous occurrence that happens with the Eucharist over the centuries. Really, there's so many of them. And it kind of shows that the Eucharist really is the true body and blood of Christ. It's not any kind of proof of it, but it's just a way to help boost our faith. And so Carlo ended up putting it together his own exhibition, and you can even see it to this day. Now, after Carlo's death, honestly, the miracles began pouring in. There was this young Brazilian boy that had this terrible disorder where he could not eat anything without actually vomiting each time. And so he was just severely dehydrated and malnourished all the time. And so at his local parish, though, he saw a bunch of people venerating these relics from Carlo Acutis. And so he decided to run up to them and give them a kiss. And he just shouted his prayer in the church for all to hear, saying, "Stop vomiting." Now, after that moment, he went back home and he just started eating some rice and some beans and some steak and French fries. And he did not vomit at all. And when the doctors checked out his pancreas, they saw that it was completely healed. Carlo's own mother was unable to have children after Carlo, but then miraculously, 4 years after his death, she had twins. And those twins were actually able to attend his beatification ceremony in 2020 with the family. Carlo shows that even in today's world, with all of the division, all of the confusion, that holiness is still possible. His life, of course, was not long, but he lived it with great intensity and with great love, and that's something that we can all do. A few days after his first communion, he said that his life plan was to always be united to Jesus. Carlo's dedication to prayer and the sacraments and even evangelization was precisely what prepared him to face his death in such a heroic way, even though it came so suddenly and so painfully. To be a saint, you don't have to found a religious order, you don't have to baptize 30,000 people across the world, and you don't have to take down communism. Now, if you do feel called to any of those things, that would be helpful, so go ahead and do that. But holiness is found in everyday life, and Carlo Acutis really showed that. Now, of course, he ended up facing his death in a very heroic way, and that helped contribute to things. But the point is that his life and the holy things that he did and the care that he had for other people and his dedication to centering his life around Jesus Christ, that's doable for you, for me, and for all of us. You don't have to do the crazy things. And maybe actually if you're doing these ordinary things, it'll prepare you to do all those things. So Carlo Acutis really shows the path forward for us, the dedication to the prayer and to the sacraments and to evangelization. And so his inspiring life just shows us that we all can be a saint just like him. Saint Carlo Acutis, pray for us.